When people talk about the foundations of economic thinking, the same names always dominate the conversation. Adam Smith, Karl Marx, maybe Aristotle, if someone wants to sound sophisticated. But history has a blind spot, and it's a big one. Long before stock exchanges, fiat currencies, or central banks, a medieval thinker had already diagnosed the disease that still haunts modern economies. Nearly 1,000 years ago, a Muslim scholar observed something dangerous taking shape. He warned that money, when stripped of ethics, becomes a corrosive force, not just economically, but socially and politically. His insight was simple and terrifying. When wealth grows faster than integrity, collapse becomes inevitable. This was Hamid Al-Ghazali. Welcome to the Financial Historian, where forgotten ideas explain modern crises better than today's headlines ever could. To understand Al-Ghazali's thinking, you have to step into the world he lived in. The timeline is the late 11th century. Europe is fractured, economically weak, and still emerging from centuries of stagnation. Meanwhile, the Islamic world is experiencing a golden age. Vast trade networks stretch from Spain to Central Asia. Markets are active. Cities are rich. Knowledge flows freely between scholars, merchants, and rulers. Baghdad, Cairo, Damascus. These are not just cultural centers, but economic engines. Trade caravans carry gold, silver, spices, textiles, and ideas. Wealth is circulating faster than society can fully process. And inequality is growing quietly beneath the surface. It's inside this booming yet unstable system that Al-Ghazali emerges, not as a merchant or ruler, but as a sharp observer of human behavior. He was a theologian, a philosopher, a legal scholar, but also something else entirely, a moral economist. Born in 1058 in Persia, Al-Ghazali climbed the intellectual hierarchy rapidly. By his 30s, he held one of the most prestigious academic positions in the Islamic world. But instead of celebrating success, he walked away from it. Why? Because he sensed something deeply wrong. He saw societies becoming wealthy yet anxious. Markets expanding while trust declined. People accumulating more while feeling less secure. The system was growing, but it was hollowing out from within. So he asked a question that still feels dangerous today. What happens when money becomes the purpose instead of the tool? Al-Ghazali's economic thinking was radical for its time, and still uncomfortable now. He didn't analyze money as a technical instrument. He analyzed it as a psychological and moral force. To him, money was not valuable because of gold or silver. It was valuable because people believed in it. He described money as a neutral intermediary, a servant, not a master. Its function was exchange, not accumulation. Once money became an object of obsession, something had gone wrong. One of his sharpest ideas was this: wealth that does not circulate is lifeless. Hoarded money, in his view, was not merely unproductive, it was destructive. When wealth is locked away, it starves the economy. Workers lose opportunities. Trade slows. Prices distort. Society suffocates. He didn't frame this as envy or resentment. It was a systems warning. When money stops moving, economies don't collapse from lack of resources, they collapse from blocked circulation. And from here, Al-Ghazali went further. He saw speculation as poison. Merchants who exploited shortages, manipulated prices, or profited from crises were not innovators in his eyes. They were parasites. Profit without contribution, he argued, erodes the ethical foundation of markets. Once people believe the game is rigged, trust evaporates, and without trust, markets are just noise. Importantly, Al-Ghazali was not anti-trade. He supported commerce. He believed markets were natural and necessary. What he opposed was deception, false weights, hidden defects, misinformation, and dishonesty. He understood something modern economists often forget. Markets are built on trust before they are built on numbers. When trust collapses, transaction costs explode. Cooperation dies. Economic activity becomes defensive instead of productive. Another core belief of his was the dignity of labor. Wealth earned through effort strengthened society. Wealth extracted through manipulation weakened it. This wasn't moral preaching, it was structural logic. Societies thrive when contribution is rewarded more than exploitation. But his most explosive criticism was aimed at rulers. Al-Ghazali openly condemned currency manipulation. When governments diluted coins to fund wars or cover deficits, he called it theft. Inflation, in his view, was a hidden tax imposed on the poor. It destroyed confidence in money and punished those least able to protect themselves. To him, currency debasement wasn't clever policy, it was economic betrayal. He warned that once people stop trusting their currency, they abandon it. They seek stronger alternatives. Sound money migrates across borders, and states lose control not because of invasion, but because of credibility collapse. History proved him right, repeatedly. Weimar Germany, Zimbabwe, Venezuela, Argentina. The pattern is always the same. Confidence dies first. The numbers collapse later. Al-Ghazali understood something fundamental. Money is a belief system. Once belief fades, no policy can save it. But his analysis went even deeper. He recognized the emotional drivers behind economic behavior. Fear creates hoarding. Greed fuels speculation. Power invites manipulation. And when unethical behavior becomes normalized, collapse is already underway. That's why he believed economies cannot be fixed purely through regulation. Incentives shape behavior. Systems reward actions. And if a system rewards dishonesty, dishonesty becomes dominant. Wealth without responsibility, he warned, destabilizes society. Not because wealth is evil, but because imbalance is. Civilizations rise when accumulation is balanced by contribution. They fall when extraction overwhelms obligation. And this brings us directly to the modern world. Look around. Extreme inequality. Financial bubbles. Institutional distrust. Speculation rewarded more than production. Debt piled on debt. Currencies stretched by political pressure. People losing faith in systems meant to protect them. Al-Ghazali wouldn't be surprised. He would say the same thing he said centuries ago. Prosperity cannot survive injustice. Economic collapse is rarely caused by scarcity. It's caused by corruption, by broken trust, by systems that reward the wrong behaviors for too long. Money is not just numbers on a screen. It is a moral ecosystem. And when that ecosystem breaks down, the financial structure collapses with it. That is why Al-Ghazali matters today. Because understanding money without understanding ethics isn't economics, it's ignorance. And history punishes ignorance ruthlessly. If this perspective changed how you see money, subscribe. History already knows what comes next, you just have to listen. Wealth without responsibility, he warned, destabilizes society. Not because wealth is evil, but because imbalance is. Civilizations rise when accumulation is balanced by contribution. They fall when extraction overwhelms obligation. And this brings us directly to the modern world. Look around. Extreme inequality. Financial bubbles. Institutional distrust. Speculation rewarded more than production. Debt piled on debt. Currencies stretched by political pressure. People losing faith in systems meant to protect them. Al-Ghazali wouldn't be surprised. He would say the same thing he said centuries ago. Prosperity cannot survive injustice. Economic collapse is rarely caused by scarcity. It's caused by corruption, by broken trust, by systems that reward the wrong behaviors for too long. Money is not just numbers on a screen. It is a moral ecosystem. And when that ecosystem breaks down, the financial structure collapses with it. That is why Al-Ghazali matters today. Because understanding money without understanding ethics isn't economics, it's ignorance. And history punishes ignorance ruthlessly. If this perspective changed how you see money, subscribe. History already knows what comes next, you just have to listen.